This is Your Own Best Company, a podcast and community for creative people who value and enjoy working alone. In today's episode of Your Own Best Company, Diana Needham from Business Book Partners is going to be working through 7 questions for people who are considering writing a book. And there is a worksheet that goes along with this. Don't write the wrong book. To download that worksheet, all you have to do is enter bit.ly/wrongbookworksheet. All one word, no spaces, and put that into your browser, and you'll be able to go directly to the worksheet and download it. So again, bit.ly/wrongbookworksheet. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Own Best Company. I'm Franklin Taggart, and I'm really excited today to introduce you to a new friend of mine, Diana Needham, who I've only met recently, but I've grown to like very much, and she's got a lot to tell you about books today. And the reason that I thought it would be a really good thing to bring Diana on the show today is most of the people that I know that I've worked with have, at some point or another in their career or in their business life, they've considered writing a book for a variety of reasons. And we're going to go into what some of those reasons might be today. Diana is the CEO of Business Book Partners, who help people create, publish, launch, and leverage their powerful book to attract ideal clients, grow their audience, and expand your business. It's a combination of marketing strategist, business coach, publishing expert, and project manager all in one person. And I had a conversation with Diana a little while back, and I can vouch that all of those things are true about her. Diana, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Franklin. I'm so excited to share, with your audience, and I think that combination is somewhat unique. Because what I bring to the table is 26 years primarily focused on project management. So what I've taken is that project management process or thinking and applied it to the book process.
And you've worked with a variety of authors, primarily in the realm of business, although there are other folks that have worked with you. Can you talk a little bit about what drew you to the business crowd?
Yeah, for the business folks, primarily they're at a point in their business where, they're off the launching pad. They have a successful business. They're generating revenue. They have clients. They're clear on their message. Like, it takes us a while to get clear about our message, but they're clear on their message, and they know that this is the right time. Like, there's something big that they want to share, and it's tied to their business, and they know that if they had a book, that it would be a powerful asset to attract their ideal clients, to open doors to new opportunities. And what I can also tell you is, when I first talk to clients and they come into my programs, one of the things I say to them is, the person that changes the most in this process is the author, because it is a personal transformation. Because even if we think we're clear in our message, when we have to articulate it on paper, by the end of this, and I tell them this, nobody believes me, right, till we get to the end, but I tell them, like, when we get to the end and you have this book in your hand, you're going to look in the mirror and say, I am not the same person as I was when I started this. And they're always amazed at the opportunities that present themselves that we never could have envisioned, or, there's no manufacturing here.
Yeah.
It's just things happen. People start noticing in a different way. They start getting invited to speak on bigger stages. People that have podcasts want to have people that run Facebook groups want them to come in and speak. Last year, I worked with a retired Coast Guard captain. And he is senior faculty at the inside the learning organization for the Security and Exchange Commission.
Oh, wow.
Silver-haired gentleman. His big message for the world is around leadership. And he wrote this book called Unauthorized Progress, Leading from the Middle. And it was filled with stories of how people that didn't have the title of leader necessarily, they saw something that needed to be done. And they just did it.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for money. They didn't ask for permission. They didn't ask for funding. They didn't go through any red tape. And he's got this really powerful story he tells about the rescue of Katrina and the needs that the Coast Guard people, like in the helicopters, on the roofs of houses, the things that they didn't have. And they just went and bought, they just went and bought things. They didn't ask for anything. They just did what they knew was right. And so when we launched that book, which we did the day after Memorial Day last year, the day after Memorial Day was really important to him. The foreword was written by a retired commandant. He had 2 or 3 pages of endorsements in the front of the book because he built this network like over time. We gifted the ebook version to every single graduating Coast Guard cadet last year.
That's so cool.
We did it again when they graduated this year. Now that opportunity and that door we never would have envisioned at the beginning. So I just kind of share that as an example, like amazing things happen that we can't fathom right now.
That story gives me goosebumps even now the second time that I've heard it. And that also speaks to the power of a book and how it can make an impact across a much wider selection of people than anything else that you do. So I'm excited to get into a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. I asked Diana actually to come up with a presentation that she could give that would help people get ready to write a book. And she's developed a series of 7 questions, and we're going to be going through that exercise today. I want to invite you, if you have the opportunity to have something to write with or something to remember this particular exercise, I'd encourage you to go ahead and get that now, because Diana has really got some great things to bring to you in the next little while. Diana, can you talk a little bit about where these 7 questions came from?
Yeah, that's a great question. They kind of evolved over time. And here's, actually, like this happened. One of my early clients, here's when I discovered I loved working with authors. Somebody was referred to me and her book had been out for a year. And she was really disappointed, like very disappointed. Someone had said, Claire, you need to write a book, like you've written for these women's journals, and like you need to write a book. And so she did. And a year later, she's like, wait a minute. I mean, I spent all this time, blood, sweat, and tears and money, and I have this book, and I've literally sold fewer than 100 copies, primarily to friends and family. That's not why I wrote this book. I mean, she was so distraught. And so when I rewound that, I came up with these 7 questions, and these are the 7 questions I ask. These are the first questions I ask anybody that comes into my world, because what I know is that we have to build a strong foundation for the success of the book.
Yeah.
And if we don't have a strong foundation, we might get to the finish line. Claire got to the finish line. She had a book, but it wasn't targeted enough. It was too general. We were able to revive the book and relaunch the book and do a lot of things. But then she went on and wrote the second book, which is the book that she should have written in the first place. But when she got really clear about these and the answers to these questions, then she said, oh, that's what I was supposed to be writing.
Yeah. So there's a title to this exercise called Don't Write the Wrong Book. And there's going to be more information coming up about some special offers that Diana has on the table around this topic. But I'd like to talk a little bit about how people can get the most out of this exercise that we're about ready to present, Diana?
What I've discovered over time is that, as you just mentioned, like take notes, like write down these questions. And if nothing's coming to you as you think about these questions, that's perfectly fine. No worries. But for most of the people that I work with, if they can just get themselves in a quiet place, like write down the questions, and I'm going to give you an opportunity. We'll give you an opportunity to actually get a copy, so not to worry about that, and get yourself in a quiet place. And for me, that's not in front of the computer. Outside in nature, like just let yourself think. Let yourself think, and just whatever comes, whatever flows out, just write it down. Because I promise you that even if the answers are vague right now, start there, and then we can refine it.
So this is really the first step in writing a successful book. All right.
Yep.
Well, are you ready to jump right in? I
am.
I trust that people have something to write with. And is the link that I just created going to be to the download that they can download that has the questions on it?
Yep.
All right. So I'll go ahead and mention that link currently: bit.ly/wrongbookworksheet. bit.ly/wrongbookworksheet. And you can download the sheet that has the 7 questions on it. And are you ready to just jump right in, Diana?
I'm ready. And actually, when you download, there'll be lines, there'll be spaces for you to actually, write. But for right now, I would encourage you to take notes. Just take some notes so you've got something to look at. Maybe right now a book is like not top of mind, like at the moment. It's like, but who knows? A month from now, 3 months from now, something may happen and you say, you know what, it's time for me to write it. Where are my notes for that?
Very good. Well, let's
do you want me to jump into question number 1?
Question number 1 is a great place to start as far as I know.
The first thing that I ask people, Franklin, is, why are you writing this book? And what I'm really looking for is not, there's 2 different ways most people go about this, and they give me a head answer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's not very much information out about that, or what there is pretty skimpy, or people are confused about it. Or I had somebody I met locally, we met for lunch, and she actually brought the books. I'll give you a real live example. She wanted to write a book about the blending of essential oils. Okay, well, we know what essential oils are, but at the time I didn't really know much about blending.
Mm-hmm.
And she brought these books, and she said, if you buy anything about essential oils, there's maybe a paragraph, but nobody really understands how to do it. I have a meetup group. I teach people how to do this. And okay, is that a head answer or is that a hard answer? Right, that's all head answer.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking for is what's in here. Why is this message so important that you are willing to say yes to what it's going to take to create and publish a book? Yeah. What is in here? There's something in here. And I kept asking her in different ways, and it still came around to a head answer.
Okay.
I can remember this. I was sitting right here where I am right now, and it was a phone conversation. And I said to her, could you please tell me again why you're writing a book about essential oils? And it was like, that very awkward, pregnant pause.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what I mean by that is, was there a pivotal moment when something happened to you or somebody that you cared about, when it became so obvious to you that people needed to know about the blending of essential oils, that this message was bigger than you, like it's something you want to tell people about? And I, again, held the space for her to answer. And it was very awkward. And then she said this: my husband was diagnosed with leukemia. It's the third day of his treatment. I don't even know how I got to the hospital. Somehow I got in the parking lot and I got into the building, and I don't know if he's going to live or die. They haven't given me any information. I don't really know. I'm scared. Somehow I push the button. I get up to the 4th floor. I get in his room, and I'm trying to be as calm as I possibly can, but everything inside is screaming, right? Because I'm afraid. And all the doctors and the nurses were rushing in out of the room, and I still didn't have any information. And I noticed they had those little gripper socks on his feet. And I pulled off the grippers. For some reason, I decided to pull those off his feet. And what I noticed is there was a heavy coating where the treatment had settled in the soles of his feet. And in that moment, I knew that if I blended 3 drops of this and 4 drops of this and 2 drops of this, I could massage his feet.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only thing that I could do to help him in that moment.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where that came from inside her. I don't know that she had ever connected the dots.
Yeah.
But that's why this message is so important to her. So if you were looking for a book about the blending of essential oils, and that was the introduction told in present tense, and she went on to say, so if you're a caregiver and you're looking for ways to use essential oils to help the person that you care about, this book is for you.
Yeah.
Or she could go a different direction and say, if you're looking for the different ways essential oils can help you via aromatherapy or this, and this book is for you. See, that story is a jumping off point to connect us to her in a visceral way. So sometimes I have to dig to get the hard answer. That is so important because it's the intro. It's what's going to connect you to the people that you're here to help.
Yeah.
And it's also what's going to keep you going when you want to quit.
Now you mentioned that you came to this question from several different angles as you worked with the woman to help her get to her heart answer. Is there a way that you could describe some of those angles?
Well, I ask it in different ways because I had several conversations with her. And I think when I finally said, I used the angle of, was there a pivotal moment? And I don't even know where that, it was like a download. It was like, was there a pivotal moment when something happened to you or somebody that you cared about when this became so clear to you? And I just held the space, and so she could connect in her own. I may have been the first person she ever told.
Yeah.
What rolled out.
Very good.
So I always start with what is the why behind this? Because it's bigger than we are.
Yeah.
And that opening story, like she could just have written this chapter and said, inside this book, you're going to discover how to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh. Instead, if she opened with that story, we would have been hanging on every word.
So question number 1 again is, why does this book need to be written? Is that correct?
Yeah. Why are you writing it?
Why are you writing this book?
Or why is this so important?
All right. Very good.
You want me to move on to 2?
I think we're ready. Yeah.
Okay. So once you figure that out, and again, sometimes that takes some introspection, the big why behind this, trust me, it's in there.
Yeah.
Then the next one, so now you know why, then we want to shift to the who. Like, who is it we're writing this for? Like in the example I just gave you, was she writing this? I just told you she ran a meetup group. So is she writing it as a way to help the people in her meetup group have a tangible something that they can refer to when they're not in her class? Or who is she writing it for? Is she writing it for caregivers? Is she writing it for someone curious about essential oils? Is she writing it for a massage therapist? Like, who is this person? And we need to know that answer in detail. And when you look at like the downloadable sheet, you'll see the more we know about that person. And if you're running a business, I want you to think about your ideal client, right? If you're going to write a book to attract people into your business, you want to write it for that ideal client. So I want you to see that person, and I want you to just write down everything you know. Age, do they have a family? What's their career or their business? Do they have kids? What ages? What magazines do they read? What podcasts do they listen to? Like everything. What are they interested in? They probably told you some of that in your calls. If you work directly with clients, they probably shared some things, some personal things, and you probably didn't pay too much attention. But if you're going to write this book specifically for this person, you need to write down like as much as you know, because the clearer we can be, I even tell people, Frank, I'd say that ideal client that like you would love, like if you had 5 more of those, you would be just like in heaven.
Yeah.
Cut out a picture and tape them on your monitor while you're writing.
Yeah.
You're writing to one person, not a sea of people. One. Knowing that there are thousands of people just like that, they're out there.
Yeah.
But if you're writing a book to attract people into your business, you really want your message to be so clear it's specifically for them. They know it's for them. And if it's not for them, they're going to move on.
One of the things that's interesting to me, Diana, is that in the work that I've done with folks, especially people who are starting their first business and they've never been in business before, sometimes identifying an ideal client is a little bit difficult for them. Would you have any recommendations for folks who struggle with that concept?
You know, I think it becomes more clear the more we work with clients. And so sometimes it's a matter of you need to work with enough people so you start seeing trends.
Yeah.
I can remember one year between Christmas and New Year's, I had some open time and I sat down and I thought about all the clients I'd worked with that year. And I just listed their names and I created this little spreadsheet and I wrote down as much as I knew about them, their age, their profession, like were they, and what I found when I looked at that, they were all speakers.
Oh, very good.
They all had a community. Like they were all over 40. They were like, I could see. So when you've worked with enough people that you can kind of lay them out and like look at that, then you can see who you should be writing this to. And sometimes we just haven't worked with enough people that we're not clear about it yet.
A lot of times the way that I work with that question is if you can't really picture an ideal client yet, first of all, you don't have enough data to work with. It's like what that suggests is that you just need to get out in the world and you need to start just knocking around and getting in front of people and finding people who respond. But in addition to that, one of the things that I very often will encourage people to think about is to think about a couple of questions. One of them is, who would it be fun to work with? Who would it be fun to serve?
Yep.
And the second one is like, who would you clear your calendar to help? Or who would you clear your calendar to work? And a lot of times that helps
I love those
to
questions.
clarify that.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I just mentioned this Coast Guard captain. So, once I loved working with him, he referred another, to me. So retired military has become part of my market. Because I loved working with them. They value process. They've got they've got something big they want to say.
Yeah.
And so it evolves over time. So once we know the who it is, clearly as, again, if you can't answer this in great detail, no worries. Like you come back and revisit it. But once we have an idea of who it is, then our third question is, what's the biggest challenge? Like what's the problem that they want you to solve, that they will pay you for?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're running a charity, you really want to solve a problem that they're willing to pay you for. So what is that big problem? Well, I don't know. I don't know about you, Franklin, but my clients have multiple challenges,
Yes,
right? They don't
always.
just have one.
Yeah.
But and for most of the people watching this, their clients have more than one. But what is the consistent one thing? Like everybody that comes into your world is struggling with what? Like, what is that one big thing?
Yeah.
That is what you should be writing about if what you want to do is attract clients. Like, what is that one big challenge that they have? Whether that's, I'm a mom and I'm running a business, and I've read and this is a real life example. I've read all the time management books, but they're all written by, mostly it's men, and it's like, it doesn't work for me because I've got toddlers and I've got, like, I need, problem I need to solve is time management from a mom running a business from home.
Mm-hmm.
I need that perspective. And one of my clients wrote that book, and we just launched it in May.
Very good.
And she called it The Magic of Bending Time.
We're going to need to send people to a book list.
Well, it's really what worked for her and what she has tested over time with her clients. The biggest challenge her clients have is managing time and saying yes to too many things.
Yeah.
And they always put themselves last. So when we can be listening for what is the common biggest challenge, one book, one solution.
Very good. I think that's a really important point, because a lot of times people kind of approach a book as a list of things to offer.
Oh.
And rather than, looking at it as, how can we really be thorough about solving one problem well with this book? I love that approach.
Yeah, I mean, and that doesn't mean that you won't write other books. And that doesn't mean your clients have other challenges. But, kind of back to our question about opening doors and opportunities, imagine for a moment if you had this book in your hand that addresses that biggest challenge, whatever that is for your ideal clients, and you want to attract referral partners, the people that already have your ideal client in their audience, but they offer them something different. What if you gifted that book to that referral partner, an autographed copy, and said to them, this book will help you understand my approach, how I work with clients. I hope it's beneficial to you. You are going to speed past that know, like, and trust factor like almost nothing else I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And now they've got something tangible. They can flip through it and go, oh, yeah, he really knows what he's talking about. I can see, that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, my clients need that.
So the third question that we're having people answer is, what problem or challenge does this book solve or address?
Yep. And again, one problem, one solution. And if I can kind of people that are listening to this might be thinking that they have to write something big.
Yeah.
No. One problem, one solution. So in my world, what I've found is that for people writing a book for their business, it's generally one of two different flows, if you will. It's either my powerful story, how to get the most out of this book. That's kind of your intro. And it's your process. When I work with clients, I start here, then we go here, then we go here, then we go. So it's my process. And then there's a call to action at the end. Or it's, here are the core concepts that my ideal client needs to understand. It may not be a process, but it's their core concepts that people need to understand to get the result.
Okay.
So we're not writing War and Peace.
No.
We're writing a powerful book, and if you can put together 75, 80 pages on a regular 8.5 by 11 single space Word document, you got enough for a book.
As a reader, I actually appreciate it when people are very succinct and can get it done in less than 100 pages, because my reading time is at it's a premium in my life, and I like to get the most out of it that I can.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of people think this is going to take a long time, but again, kind of going back to, if you have worked with ideal clients and they've gotten results, you have a process. You may not have written it down, but you have a process that you take people through. A chapter per process with what is this thing? Why is it important? Mistakes and misconceptions that you see people making with that. Your recommended process. Next chapter, same flow. This is not as hard as we want to make it.
So it doesn't have to be a 300-page volume that people get lost in the middle of it and stop reading, right? It
Correct.
can be just short and to the point and really solve a problem or address a challenge effectively.
Correct.
All right, let's move on to question 4.
Question number 4, and this might seem kind of odd, but question number 4 is, who's this book not for?
I love that question.
Now, we've talked about who it is for, but it really gets people thinking about who it's not for. And one of the reasons I ask them, because it causes them to think, is I want them to be prepared that their book is not for everyone. So again, your message to your ideal client should be like as clear as a dog whistle.
Yeah.
Like, I'm speaking to you, right? And let the cats and the raccoons move on. They're going to move on. So I need you to emotionally prepare for the fact that the cats and the raccoons might show up.
Yeah.
And they probably are not going to love your book. And that's okay.
Well, one of the things we can also talk about with this question is that very often people think that what they do is really for everybody, but the truth is that it's impossible to market to everybody.
Correct.
So when you're marketing a book, knowing who it's not for is just as important from a marketing standpoint as it is to know who it is for.
And kind of going, so that's kind of going back to our question about who is your ideal client. When I said, write down as much as you know about them, like what magazines do they read, what podcasts do they, if you don't know, ask your ideal clients, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Why would we care? Because when we get ready to, as we get further in the process, if you know what podcast they're listening to, guess what? You can go raise your hand now that you're a published author and ask if you could be a guest. Hello. Like, just trying to connect the dots a little bit about the more we know about our ideal client, the easier it is to, 1, find them.
Yeah.
2, find referral partners, get in front of them, and know what to do from a marketing standpoint.
Very good. How much detail do you feel like people need to spend on this question number 4 in identifying who their customers aren't?
Actually, it's for most. This is an easy question because it's the opposite of what they just wrote for who it is for.
Yeah.
Right. So they might, they're like this time management book. Like, it's not for the woman entrepreneur that's happy, just haphazardly getting up and has no plan for her day.
Yeah.
Willy nilly. She doesn't want to change. She doesn't want anything. Like, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
Of what they just wrote. But I do that so they can be emotionally prepared that not everyone's going to love the book.
Very good.
And anyway, it's an interesting question.
So again, recapping question 4, who is this not for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them move on and just release them. You're not their person. Yeah. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I don't know. Maybe you are, Frank. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And then You know what? That's okay.
Some people don't like me, and that's all right.
Like we were just talking a little bit about the project management methodology. Like, when people come in my world, I don't do anything without a plan.
Yeah.
And a schedule. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to follow a schedule, and I know planning is if you don't appreciate and value that, then we are not a good match.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. That's perfectly fine. So question number 5 is really something that people need to kind of think about too, because it's about, what do you want your readers to know or understand or believe as a result of reading this book? What is it? Like, for most of us, one of our jobs as we're marketing and that we want to get this book out in front of people, or marketing anything, you have to know, you have to change their thinking.
Yes.
So one of our jobs is to change their thinking. So what is it that you want them to understand and know and discover? Maybe it's something about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is, what is it? Because when we know that answer, it's kind of, it helps us frame our content.
What are some of the examples that you might have from books that you've done for this question?
Yeah, so I'm going back to, the Coast Guard captain. What does he want people to know? He wants people to know that you can lead from any place. It doesn't matter. You can be the janitor or you can be the CEO.
Yeah.
When you see something that needs to be done and you know it's the right thing, just do it. I mean, it's and so that frames, so you can see, like, if that was his answer to the question, it frames everything that he's saying.
Yeah.
Because it's empowering. It's like a lot of people will see that something needs to be done, but they're thinking, I can't help with that. I can't do that. That's bigger than I mean, he wants people to believe that they can make a difference.
This is a great question. And one of the things that occurs to me, Diana, is that this question is the one that you can test all of your different content pieces around. And you can just say, does the content that I'm writing, does it support this principle, or does this principle support what I'm writing? And if not, that's probably another book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's another book, or it's that content is not wasted. Maybe it's an article, it's a blog post, it's something supplemental to the book, maybe that you gift your readers later, or it's something, but maybe it doesn't belong in the meat of the book.
Now, while we're on the topic of blog posts, you just mentioned it in passing, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it up now, because one of the things that we talked about in our prior conversation was people who were trying to turn blogs into books. And you said that there was a kind of a common difficulty with that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, a blog post, a lot of them they're written as sort of like listicles, like 5 steps, 3 tips, 3 ways to blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's short. That is not really the way a book is written. I mean, a chapter in a book needs to delve pretty deeply into whatever the step is, whatever the process is that you're talking about. And I did have a client who, she's very, very adept at social media, blogs, like does all this thing. And she just pulled in a bunch of blog posts and kind of cobbled them together.
Yeah.
And the book was so short. I mean, there really wasn't enough meat on it. So yeah, I know that there are people out there that teach blog your book, like figure out your chapters and just like blog your book. But the way that a blog is written, if you just copy and paste it into a chapter, it's thought starter, right? I mean, it's content, but it's not a chapter.
Right. So getting back to the fifth question, then the fifth question helps people to really identify what the core principle of the book is, or what the guiding kind of the central guiding principle of the book is, so that they can really write
the right book.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is all about writing the right book. And kind of like the next couple of questions are really key to this too, because the next question I ask people is, at the end of the day, this book is going to be here for a long time.
Yeah.
10 years from now, somebody might pick it up in a thrift store. What do you want to be known for? That's the question.
Yeah.
What do you want to be known for? Because we want to use this book to position your expertise and your knowledge and your wisdom. Because here's the thing. As we work with clients, we bring with us all of our training, all of our experience, all the things we tried that didn't work, all the things that we tried and they did work, all of the investments that we've made in coaches and trainings and, 26 years in corporate running projects. I like bring that to clients because that's the way my brain is wired. And I sit down with a calendar and I lay this all out and say, hey, here's our schedule.
Yeah.
So what do you want to be known for? At the end of the day, the book's going to be out there. What do you want to be known for? And people have to kind of think about that.
That's an essential question for branding as well.
Absolutely. Like the lady I told you about, the magic of bending time, she works primarily with more spiritual healers, all women, entrepreneurs. And she has a highly successful business. She runs a pit bull rescue as a volunteer with her husband.
Yeah.
And she has all the time that she needs to do everything that she loves.
Very
right.
good.
So what does she want to be known for?
Yeah.
The woman entrepreneur that can make all of these things, wonderful things happen and still have a life and still be joyful. Right.
That's perfect. What a wonderful way to think about her, right? And that could be something that would be really impactful here, is to think about, maybe even long after you're gone, someone could find this and know what you were about. I love that question.
Yeah, and it's actually a sobering thought.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So again, question 6, what do you want to be known for? I love that question.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if you write multiple books, like there's going to be a theme.
Yeah.
There's going to be a theme to this. So what do you want to be known for? And the last question, the 7th question, this is a critical question, is, at the end of the day, imagine you have this book in your hand.
Yeah.
What is the outcome? What are the results that you want to see from it? Both personally and professionally. What do you want to have happen? A lot of people can't answer that because they haven't been thinking about the book as a strategic marketing asset.
Right.
And one of the things that I help clients see is this book is a strategic marketing asset to attract your ideal clients, and it will be a valuable asset for years to come. This is not, let me write it and 6 months from now it's outdated and I need to write something else. It is, so what is happening? What do you want to have happen? And if I can go back to Claire, the lady who wrote the wrong book, she and her husband actually came here and we had a VIP day in person because they have a home in Niagara Falls and they have a home in Florida, and I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So they stopped by and we got to actually spend some time together, and it was so cute. Her husband took all the notes. But I kept asking her, so Claire, what is it that you want to have happen as a result of this book? Well, I like to work with nonprofits and I'm involved with these women's groups, and I'm, like circle, 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 right? And I kept trying to ask it in a different way. And I'm sure she was, because I'm like, I have to know the answer. And the reason I have to know the answer to that is so I can help you with the marketing stuff while you're writing the book. Because if I know what you want at the end, and this is just how my brain works, I'm starting to think about, okay, well, that means we need to put content here. That means that we should be searching for podcasts that are on this topic. That means like, that's the way my brain works, so that we are doing the right things to get the outcome that you say that you want. Because if you don't get that outcome, I failed you. That's my problem. So you got a book, so what?
Yeah.
We don't want that.
What I would understand this question to also be asking is like, what doors do you want this book to open for you? What opportunities do you want it to create?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so with Claire, she finally said this: I want to be doing 2- and 3-day workshops inside of companies, helping their women leaders untangle the organizational chaos they have on their teams. The sky's open and the angels sang, thank God. Okay, now I got something to work with.
That goosebump moment.
It was just like, okay, she already had that audience.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That woman retired after 33 years in HR from DuPont. Do you think that she knows something about the challenges of women leaders?
Yes.
That answer was so, when she finally dug deep and it finally rolled out, it was so obvious. That is the answer. Had somebody asked her these 7 questions, she would not have written that first book the way that she wrote it.
Very good.
And that's why I say then she went on to write the second book, which is specifically for women leaders and the unspoken things that happen on your teams that you need to be aware of.
Oh, very good. Very good.
On this 7th question, like when you look at this, like you can think now about like, what are the outcomes I want?
Yeah.
What in terms of growing my audience, in terms of attracting ideal clients, in terms of finding referral partners, in terms of growing my reach, in terms of helping more people, like what is it that I want to have happen?
Yeah.
And when you look at the document, you'll see there's some ideas there, and you can just check. I want this. I want this. I want this. I want this.
Oh yeah, there's
so many ways I want something different.
So many ways that people are using books for marketing now. It's just crazy the number of options that are out there, and people are creatively coming up with new options every day. I think it's amazing, and I know that in the speaking circuit, that books are really, really helpful. And in finding podcasts that will have you as a guest, having a book is always a feather in your cap. So I love that question. I really feel like that question number 7, don't skip it, folks. I think it's a really important one for you to have an answer to.
Yeah, and those answers that they help us keep our eye on the prize.
Yeah.
So what is it I really want to have happen? So for Claire, like her heart was in helping women leaders inside of corporate. That was her world. Yeah. Had somebody ask her these 7 questions before she wrote that first book and kind of poked the way I poked at her, what do you want to have happen, Claire? What is it? And when that finally rolled out, I mean, I think her husband about fell off the chair too. Yeah. I mean, it was just such an amazing moment of clarity.
Yes, crystal clear, right?
But she couldn't get there by herself.
Yeah.
So that's a really, when you know the answer to that, then how I work is like I reverse engineer and start with, okay, so now let's start thinking about where do we need to show up? What audience, where are our people? How do we find those podcast hosts that are looking for someone to talk about this topic? Where are the conferences going on next year that we need to be like plugged into? How can we get our speaker thing in front of them? One of my clients has been asked back for the largest conference in his industry. He was a speaker 2 years ago when they did it live. He was a speaker last year when they did it virtual. This year they're going to do it live, and they've asked him back a 3rd time. That's amazing. Those doors will open. It's because he has a book. It's because he has a book. Those doors will open. Yeah. Well, we've been going through 7 questions, 7 critical questions you must answer before you start writing. The exercise is called Don't Write the Wrong Book. And I want to invite people, if you've been listening while you're driving or listening while you're walking the dog and you haven't had a chance to sit down and really reflect on these things, go to the link bit.ly/wrongbookworksheet and download the worksheet and reflect on those questions for yourself. And then, Diana, we need to tell them, after they've done that exercise, what's the next step that they need to take with you? Well, I would love to have a conversation with anyone who's working through these questions. If you're writing a book for your business, it's your big mission, it's your big calling, it's like that this is the time. I'd love to have a conversation. We can drop a link so people can actually book a conversation. And if you could share your answers to these questions before we talk, that would really help me. Very good. So that, I can give you the most that I can, in the 30 minutes that we have together. I also, if you're interested, if you're looking for an author community, because writing a book can be isolating. So if you're looking for an author community, I actually have a group on Facebook called Build Your Business with a Book. Alliteration on the B's.
Yeah.
Build Your Business with a Book. And I have amazing aspiring authors. I have some clients that are in there, and it's an amazing community. I do a Facebook Live in there about every week. I've done interviews with clients on their launch day.
Yeah.
So we're actually talking to them in real time. It's 5 p.m. the day of their launch. What's happened behind the curtain that the public doesn't see, because I'm running their book campaign, their bestseller campaign, and that's been really fun. There's a lot of really good content there that you could just go watch whenever you want to watch it.
Yeah. And we'll also have a link for your LinkedIn profile as well.
Yeah, I'd love to connect over there.
Diana, the last thing I'd like to talk about just a little bit is the 8-month program that you offer. And when you described it the other day, I just thought, wow, this is really the total package. It's like, I've heard of other packages that people offer, and I really, most of them cover some of the bases really well. But one of the things that I was really struck by with your 8-month package is that you're covering all the bases, and you're covering them all well. Can you talk a little bit about that program?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking me about that, Franklin. Yeah, I have an 8-month program that is specifically for entrepreneurs, speakers, and business leaders who, again, that this is the time, but you don't know what to do. Yeah. Right? I mean, this seems daunting. It seems confusing. And if you spend any time researching on the internet about how to write a book or how to publish a book or how to launch a book or how to market a book, you get so much confusing information that it is just like, I don't know what to do. Right? Yeah. So people usually come into my world, they've got an idea. They know that this is the time. And so I work with them through these 7 questions and making sure that we have a good outline. We have to have an outline, and the writing of the book happens in the first 8 to 10 weeks. We do cover design, we do interior formatting, we do the bestseller campaign, and you have copies in your hand at the end. So it's an 8-month program, start to finish, and I personally manage this whole process for you.
That's amazing.
Because, if you try to go find those resources yourself,
yeah,
and hope that they deliver on the schedule that you need, even if you even have a schedule,
yeah,
it's challenging. So I have all those resources, and I have vetted editors and it's very much a partnership.
Yeah,
it's very much of I'm in the trenches with you from the beginning till we get to the end. 8 months, start to finish, vague idea, published book, launched with an Amazon bestseller campaign, designation to your name, and copies in your hand, and you know how to use them.
I just don't think you're going to find a better offer if you're ready to write a book, folks. I just think, it just makes total sense. And so I would encourage you to schedule that call with Diana after you've done the 7 questions. Go ahead and fill out your 7 questions. Take some time to really reflect and think about it and write down your answers to those, and then get in touch with Diana and get the ball rolling. I really feel like that Diana is the shortest distance between you and a bestseller. So
yeah, I tell you, the whole project management, the goal of a project is what's the fastest path between point A and point B without getting tangled up.
Yeah.
And that's what I've created. And the other thing that I have in the background is, because I've been doing this for so long, I have all these templates. So one of my promises to clients is you'll never start with a blank piece of paper, ever, on anything.
Yeah.
Time to write the back cover copy, the text on the back. I got a template for that. Time to ask your beta readers for feedback. I've got a process for that. Because that blinking cursor will keep us from doing what we know is next, because we don't have any frame of reference. We don't know how to, so I have all of these templates and processes and training, and that's how I can guarantee it's 8 months if you do your part. I'll do my part. 8 months, start to finish.
That's awesome, Diana. This has been so informative, and I know that people will gain a lot from this conversation and from working through the 7 questions. Don't write the wrong book, folks. I love that. And businessbookpartners.com is where you can find Diana and interact with her and connect. And again, on LinkedIn and on the Facebook group, Build Your Business with a Book is the Facebook group. Diana, thank you so much for your time. This has been wonderful.
Thanks so much for inviting me. This has been a wonderful conversation. I hope it's helpful to your audience.
I know it. I know it already is. And I have a feeling that you and I are going to be talking again.
I hope so, my friend.
I think we need to actually think about other ways that we can help people with their book publishing and marketing and things like that. I just know that there are a ton of things that we could talk about in that realm.
Yep.
So
yep, for sure.
We're going to put an ellipsis at the end of this one, folks. This isn't a period. This is an ellipsis. We're coming back. ... People who work alone aren't antisocial, at least not most of us. If people think you're weird because you don't want to grow a big company and you'd rather spend most of your time working by yourself, you're just hanging around the wrong people. Your Own Best Company has a Facebook group that you're invited to join right now. We understand the urge to close the door, let your imagination run wild, and stay there until your creative impulse runs its course. We also understand the features and challenges that go along with running a business to support our solo flight lifestyles. Joining the group is free, and it's as easy as clicking the link in the channel description. So go there now and just join the group. Want to hear more where this came from? Subscribe to Your Own Best Company on your favorite podcast app or on the Franklin Taggart Coaching and Consulting YouTube channel. To get in touch with Franklin, send an email to yobc@franklintaggart.com. Thanks for listening.